city.
So was born in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan,
Oh,
and so I've lived my childhood in Moose Jaw and in Brandon, Manitoba, and got my first degree at Brandon University, which is a small university, at reading geography. And that I took a few introductory geography courses, which were really social geography. And in those classes, we spent a lot of time talking about the global inequities. Just motivated me to look in, um, to learn more about those kinds of issues and figure out what I could do. And went to Queen's University to do a master's in geography.
so what was the first employment you had?
Yeah. Um, so Queen's University, the work that I did was very um, as a research assistant to the professors was developing a population forecasting model. And so, and also a lot of work in geographic information systems. And so my first job actually was with the regional municipality of Hamilton, where now the city of Hamilton, to bring that knowledge that I had around geographic information systems and population forecasting into work that they were starting to do around affordable housing. The regional chairman had just established a citizens task force to look at affordable housing. For those that are old enough might remember, Ontario was in the middle of an economic boom. Housing basically doubled in price in like that 2 years between 87 and 1990. And so I was fortunate enough to get that job and start working on affordable housing policy with that task force. My first job, that job was partially funded by the province of Ontario because they wanted municipalities to implement the provincial policy statement on affordable housing. The solution that the province was putting forward to the affordable housing crisis was we have to build more housing. And municipalities and the whole development review process is slowing it down. So we need to figure out how to speed it up. I feel like we're still following that same solution. It's about remove the regulations, remove the development charges, in theory, to rely on the private sector to build the housing that we need. The reality is, I think we all experience it and know it. The private sector is not building the housing that we need. We've tried this path of let the private market go. Yeah, they're not building affordable housing. They're definitely not building.
You want to maximize their profits, and the profits aren't there for the affordable.
Yeah. And so we've been following this path, though, for 35 years now almost. And the housing crisis just keeps getting worse. We need a different approach. Market intervention, direct investment, and provision of mental health and addiction supports to actually provide the kind of housing that for people who can't afford any kind of housing, for people that just don't probably are working full time. I mean, I have family in this situation. They work full time, but they don't have the jobs that they have don't provide the income so that they can actually afford what's available to them. So we need some of that middle housing, for lack of a better way of describing it. That's what I'm hoping I can do in the area.
Okay, so from there, you jumped into the city of Toronto as a senior policy and research planner. It says here, conducted research and policy work associated with the preparation of the new official plan for the recently amalgamated city in the topic areas of natural environment, commuting patterns, population change, and migration and regional growth. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So yeah, I joined the city in September 1999. Mm-hmm. And yes, my first job with the city was in the planning department. Prior to one of the many priorities of the planning department at that time was to develop a new official plan for the amalgamated city. So taking the 6 official plans from the former local municipalities and the Metro Toronto official plan and create one one common official plan for the entire new mega city. One thing that we were of concern was, our commuting patterns changing? Like, where do people go and on a daily basis to work, and how did they get to there? Recognizing the city was going to grow and keep growing, and if we can identify where those key areas of employment and where people live that work in those key areas of employment, are there opportunities to look at alternative transit options to support them, and so that they're not necessarily having to drive and get caught up in gridlock. The city's grown in the 25 years I've lived here by 400,000 people, to larger urban area by over 2 million people. And in Toronto anyway, how much new road space have we built? None, because we can't. Space is not there unless we're willing to expropriate tons of properties and build more highway or extend our arterial roads and make them wider. So we have to start looking for the alternatives. And that's where the underfunding of public transit in particular is extremely frustrating. Mismanagement, overpriced or over budget, and under delivered. The city was going down the path, as was already mentioned, of building what was called Transit City. The funding was in place. The Scarborough LRT was an off-road. It doesn't affect traffic in any way. And that would be done. That would have been done a long time ago. Tens of millions of sunk costs that had already been spent on developing that. And I'm not sure. I mean, is the subway a better deal or option for the people of Scarborough? So the planning department, and that's the work I did. And then I was presented with an opportunity to work as an in-house management consultant and project manager.
Yeah, to see a project manager and senior management consultant. Okay.
Yeah. And initially the position was in what was called corporate services, and then it moved into the city manager's office. It was supporting senior management and organizational change to deliver services more efficiently. The one that I'm particularly proud of, that I spent a good year working on, was with the city clerk's office. And at that time, the meeting management process, so the council meetings, the standing committee meetings, so everything was done on paper. There was no use of computers for tracking minutes and notes. So I spent a year working with the clerk's secretariat office, 100 staff to support those meetings, and helped them develop the business processes so that they eventually got to the point where they've eliminated well over 3 million sheets of paper in the meeting management process. And more importantly, made the process more open and transparent. Because it was all paper-based, if a member of council made a motion, he or she would have to write it down. The clerk would then photocopy it and hand it around to the members of council. But now all the motions that are done, because they type it and they have the system are displayed electronically up on the screen, so everybody gets to see what the council is voting on.
So that was between March 2002 to November 2006. Okay, what happened after 2006?
I joined what at that time was called the Toronto Environment Office, now called the Environment and Climate Change Division. What I was responsible for was research and policy. And you may remember 2006 we had a municipal election, and David Miller was reelected as mayor, and one of his top 3 priorities was climate change. And it fell to me and my small team to write the first climate change plan for the city of Toronto. We ran a grant program to help people retrofit their homes to be more energy efficient. We also, within that, had a low income program. So we were able to support around 100, just over 100 homeowners and making their homes more energy efficient, reducing their operating costs, and I think also importantly, making their homes more comfortable.
You talked about something I think related just at the budget meeting. Property tax deferrals for low-income seniors.
Yeah, just about helping ensure that they can stay in their home and can afford it by not making property tax increases an onerous thing to them. But a low-income senior can also apply to the province for a property tax, what they call a rebate, to help pay for their property taxes. And instead of giving people deferrals and tax breaks, let's spend the money and make their homes more energy efficient. We significantly would reduce their electrical bill, their natural gas bill. The benefit of that, of course, is we get reduced emissions. We get the value of their properties improved. Their houses, the comfort level in their home is probably going to be improved. And we address the core issue, which was we make it financially viable for them to stay in their home.
Home energy loan program. Did we talk about that? Or
the next mayor of Toronto was Rob Ford. I think it's fair to say that environmental issues were not a top priority for Mayor Ford, which is fine. That's what the people chose. The home energy loan program was about providing people with a loan to retrofit their home to make it more energy efficient. And the loan was designed in such a way that repayment would not exceed what they were already paying in utility bills. So after the 5-10 years of repayment, then they're saving money on their utility bills and they have a more energy efficient home. The mayor supported us and supported the allocation of $20 million to the program to get it up and running and to start providing those loans because it saves people money. It's good for the economy because it's going to generate jobs in terms of home retrofit and energy efficiency retrofits. Toronto was the first city in Canada to offer this kind of programming. And the federal government then funded the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to encourage other municipalities across Canada to do something similar. So the EcoRoute grant program that we designed in my office takes that money and grants it to building owners of existing buildings who want to install a green roof on their building. So we still are getting the benefits of a green roof, which is reduced stormwater, habitat for pollinators, cooling, which is becoming cooling in terms of reduced heat island effect.
Pollinator Protection Initiative and Grant Program. Can you talk about that?
This is one of my favorite projects that we ever did, and it still is in place and it's successfully doing what it was intended to do. And that is helping property owners convert their yards or other public spaces to provide habitat for pollinators.
Some people have negative opinion about bees. We're talking about there's very many different types of bees, right?
Yeah.
And they're very important to our food production and
production. Yeah, no, they're critical. All pollinators. So, pollinators could be butterflies, it could be bees, birds, and but the intent of the program is to help people plant more native native species. It creates an environment that supports the bees so that they can thrive. I can speak from personal experience. I've done this in my own backyard, and that was part of the goal, is to also help communities come together. So the grant program is not for individuals, but it's for communities. And there's a lot of neighborhoods where people came together and everybody gave up a little part of their front yard to plant native species. So you create this laneway or pathway for the pollinators.
Okay, so Transform TO. Can you tell us about that?
And Transform TO was community-driven, research-driven effort to renew Toronto's climate plan. It led to a lot of initiatives, the electric vehicle strategy, renewal of the home energy program. It led to an increased focus on what opportunities there are to develop district energy supplied by thermal energy. There were 4 initiatives that we had identified where we felt was a very viable opportunity to build thermal power district energy. We've actually Jack Layton was the council that led the charge on this and took advantage of that system to provide use the thermal energy from the lake to cool buildings. So basically pumping cold water out of the lake and then circulating it through the buildings and providing cooling as opposed to using non-renewable sources of energy.
If you got elected and the Green Party became the next government, what could we do?
Best way for me to frame it is, why did I want to run? And why did I pick the Green Party? Issues of importance to me. There are issues I think that are important to everybody, and I think everybody can relate. I have a daughter who went through 4 years of high school. Every year there was at least one course that had a revolving door of substitute teachers. That's not right. I have families, I've already mentioned, they work, they have full-time jobs, they can't afford the housing. And consequently, even as their family grew, they've had to make do with the size of what they live in today. I have a daughter, 25 years old, who has a mental health and addictions caseworker, working double shifts. And we well know that that's part of the reason why our police budget, why our paramedics are burning out, because we underfund mental health, we underfund healthcare as a whole. So if I were to summarize what I want to achieve, I want to bring that balance into how we run our province. And I'm looking for the options and the ideas, and I want to do it in partnership, because one of the things I've learned in my 30 years of working, the best solutions are ones that come from a variety of sources and blend those ideas. It's not, I have the right answers and I know how to do it. There are good ideas, whether it's from the right, from the left, or the center. How do we bring those together and actually make things happen? And not focus on one interest or one sector or one lobby group, but rather, where's that balance? I chose the Green Party because I think they're the party that's looking for that and actively promotes that kind of concept. We got to change the way we do things and put a focus on the long term, not the short term, and then work towards it. My favorite example around homelessness is Finland. And there was a very good article about this in the Toronto Star about, yes, it took 20 years, if I remember the article correctly, but they stayed focused on it. They made the investments in the housing, because you can't solve people's problems unless you give them a place to live as a starting point. And then you come in with the wraparound services to support them. And as the article points out, I mean, they haven't achieved zero, but they definitely they don't have accountants in all their parks.
All right, Mark Bekkering.
Yeah.
So say good night to the bad guy.